Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where we're going to start today with the birthdays for a very good reason. Let me explain. So I want to say a very happy birthday to Joey, who's turned 27 today. That's from your girlfriend Mathilde. To Kanish, I think it's pronounced, over in Kazakhstan. And to Leonie from your husband Addy. I think you're both in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. I hope obviously there's lots of cake. But the final birthday is to none other than our American math teacher. I'm not ever sure whether it's meant to be a tutor or a teacher. RockyRoer. And this puzzle on the screen is one of RockyRoer's latest puzzles, an absolute masterpiece by all accounts, 100% rated on Logic Masters Germany. And RockyRoer, not only do I know it's your birthday because you wrote to us to tell us, but also your wife wrote to say that you'd really appreciate a thank you. So your wife Carrie said you'd appreciate a shout out on your 41st birthday, and what's more, we're going to do one of your puzzles, so I hope that small present from us to you gives you a bit of joy today. I've no doubt there'll be other joy in the form of cake. I think you did send us, I'm trying to remember now because it's a while since I read the email. You sent us your birthday wish list, which, if I remember rightly, included a stacks of paper, because you do all your setting on paper, mechanical pencils, and another year's subscription to Patreon. Now, the last one I fully approve of. The setting on paper, that is old school. But mechanical pencils, they are one of the most, I don't know, wonderful objects in my opinion. I love mechanical pencils, and I'm running out. Anyway, that's by the by. This puzzle, let me actually just talk about some of RockyRoer's puzzles recently. They've all been getting enormous ratings, and we have been inundated not only to attempt this one, which is called What Do Killers Eat, but also this one. I don't know what this one's called, but you can see it's another puzzle with not many clues in it, and there are these quadruple clues which basically do double duty. So the quadruple clues, I think, have to be used as killer cage totals for one of the cages touched by the circle. It's a fascinating idea, and I would love to have a go at this on the channel, but we couldn't think of a way to put it in our software. So if anyone has any bright ideas about how to do that, such that you can sort of, I don't know, at least record what's going on in these circles, do let us know, because that puzzle, well, I don't know how many times we've had it requested or recommended to us, but it's a lot. This one on screen is somewhat daunting as well. You can see there's absolutely no digits given, and a few question marks, which are almost sort of laughing at us, I feel. Anyway, I'll get to the rules of this one in just a second or two. I've done the birthdays today. The big news from the channel at the moment is that tomorrow night, 8:30 UK time, we've had it confirmed, our Kickstarter will be launching to make our second book, Cracking the Cryptic's Greatest Hits Volume 2. We are absolutely pumped about this. And yeah, so as soon as I get a link to the Kickstarter, I will share it with you guys on Twitter probably. I know many of you follow us there. If you don't follow us there, at Cryptic Cracking is the place to go. In fact, I should show you my picture of my Acer tree, shouldn't I? Oh, that's going to involve pausing the video and all sorts of things, though. No, I'm not going to risk pausing the video because sometimes it throws the sound out of sync. But go to our Twitter. I took a picture yesterday of the small Acer tree in my garden, and the colour on it is absolutely extraordinary. I have to find it. I'm just going to edit my finding it out of the video. Right, look at that. Some people claimed it had been Oh, hang on, no, come back, Acer tree. Some people claimed it had been photoshopped, but that has not been photoshopped. I promise you, that is just in my garden yesterday afternoon. Isn't that beautiful? I asked Sven if he could make this a shading colour in the software. I'm not sure whether he thought I was being serious. Anyway, if that colour crops up soon, we'll know why, and it will be glorious. Now, other news. Duality. More of you well, in fact, lots more of you are correctly solving all 14 puzzles. This is our Sudoku hunt over on Patreon at the moment. I mean, how many of you have got through all 14 puzzles? Very, very well done. To Micah Turway, I want to say, might be getting the pronunciation wrong. Olimar, Ben Cotter, Amit Sharma, Stephen Lip, Chris Remo, Ilka Siki, I think, Marcus Zockel, Callum Mailer, Anthony Bailey, Francisco Valerio, Lars Shooter, Peter Reitman, Trevor Nicholas, and Dr. G. All of you were successful. Many congratulations. And that's all the news. So let's have a look at What Do Killers Eat by RockyRoer and try and give RockyRoer a great birthday present. If I can't do this, what a disaster that's going to be. I'm going to have to go and find another RockyRoer puzzle that's actually inputtable into our software and try that instead. But the rules of this are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits cannot repeat, and digits in each cage sum to the cage total. There don't seem to be very many of those. Clues outside the grid, in brackets sandwich totals, are the sum of the digits between the 1 and the 9 in their row or column. Well, yes, but they don't seem to be given either. In every row and column marked or containing a question mark, the sandwich total will be equal to one of the cage totals in that row or column. Nothing is known about rows or columns with no question mark clue. Well, nothing is known very much about the puzzle in general. So what's that saying? Let's look at this cell for a moment. That's saying that whatever this sandwich total is... Oh, good grief, this is horrific. So somewhere in this column is a 1 and a 9. Let's just put some 1s and 9s in. The sum of these digits is the sandwich total, because these digits will sum, well, they are the digits sandwiched between the 1 and the 9 in the column. So let's imagine that this was 20. So I see that the testers have been very kind to me here. They've allowed me to put in the totals by including sort of stuff outside the grid I can actually type into. So let's say that the purple digits sum to 20. Then we're saying that one of the cage totals in this column, one of the cage totals, either this cage, well, that cage doesn't sum to 20, I can tell you that one doesn't. I've probably picked that one might be able to. That one, or that one of the cage totals that corresponds with this column must add up to 20 would be how that worked. That is absolutely crazy. But there are more instructions here. Oh no, there aren't. E.g. hang on. Okay, we've got an example, so hopefully this will just confirm what I've just said. E.g. row 7's sandwich total, so that's the sandwich total for this row, so it's whatever goes in this clue, is either equal to the cage total from column 1's 7-cell cage. Yes, that's a 7. So it's either equal to whatever this cage adds up to, presumably whatever this cage adds up to, the 8-cell L-shaped cage in column 2, yes. The 4-cell cage in column 3, that must be this one, that's where it crosses this row. So yes, this one, I'd expect the next one to be this cage, which is a 2-cell cage. The 2-cell cage in box 8, that's that one. Then the 5-cell cage in box... The 5-cell cage in boxes 5 and 8, that's that one. Yeah, that makes sense. Or this cage, which I can deduce fairly straightforwardly. This is not the cage total corresponding to this sandwich total, but let me explain that in a moment. The 9-cell cage in boxes 8 and 9, yes. So I have understood the rules, but I am absolutely gobsmacked that this solves. But do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play Let's Get Cracking. So the reason I didn't think this could correspond to this was that this is a 9-cell cage. And there is a secret I know about 9-cell cages, but it's a secret I only tell my favourite people. I was appalled yesterday when I heard Mark in his video tell you all to share the secret with everybody you knew. No, do not. It's a secret. You've got to keep it secret. That's your competitive advantage when you're solving Sudoku. The secret is that any 9-cell cage, indeed any complete row, any complete column, or any complete box of a Sudoku, contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, and therefore sums to 45. So I know that cage, it doesn't have a total, but if it did have a total, it would be 45, because it must contain 9 different digits. And therefore it cannot be a sandwich total, because if this was a sandwich total, we know the row sums to 45 overall, but the rules of sandwich tell us to add together the numbers between the 1 and the 9 in the row. So even if I separate the 1 and the 9 as far as I possibly can, those cells will sum to 35, i.e. 45 minus 1 minus 9, and that's not enough. So in this row, we do happen to know that this clue is either that cage total, that cage total, that cage total, that cage total, or that cage total. And yes, that is as useful as a chocolate teapot, and that's not surprising, because this seems impossible. So I presume what I've got to do is to look for rows and columns that have very little in them, like that one. That's only got 2 cages in it, one of which is an 8-cell cage. Ah, right. Okay, so I can tell you for sure which clue or which cage this cell corresponds to. And that's because that is an 8-cell cage, and even therefore it's got 8 different digits in it. Even if I miss out the biggest digit I can and miss out the 9, this cage will add up to at least 36. But we've just said that 35 is the maximum clue I could put in a sandwich. So this cage is not the sandwich total, which means that cage must be. And therefore I can go further than that, actually, because that's quite interesting. That cell can't be a 2 or a 3 or a 4. And that's because, let's think about it. Let's try and make it a 4. What's the implication of that? That's telling us the sandwich total is a 4, which means I have to put digits summing to 4 between the 1 and the 9 in this row. Well, let's try and do that. How are we going to do that? I can't put 4 in because 4's already appeared in the row at the end. So I've got to separate the 1 and the 9 and make these digits sum to 4. Well, I can't make them double 2 because that breaks the rules of Sudoku, and I can't make them 1 and 3 because that puts 2 1s in the row. So that tells us that actually this has to be capable of summing up to a number that doesn't involve a 1 in its sum and is not a single digit total. So it's got to be at least 5. So it's got to be 5, 6, 7, 8. Can it be 9? If it was 9... yeah, I'm going to have to think about that. If it's 9, then it can be 9, actually, can't it? Because then we'll just fill the sandwich in here. Yeah, I mean, why couldn't we do something like that? Why couldn't we do something like that? We could, I think. So the 9 is in the cage, 9 is the sandwich total. This is one of the sandwich crusts. Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with that. Okay, so that unfortunately has got a lot of pencil marked options. So let's fill in the same on that side in the interests of good bookkeeping. And try another row or column that's got lots of stuff in it. I'm tempted immediately to look at column 2 actually, because I know this cage can't be the one that's referenced by this, because this is an 8-cell cage, and actually that is an 8-cell cage. So this clue corresponds to this one, because it has to be. That's an 8-cell cage that's summing to at least 36. That's an 8-cell cage summing to at least 36. Now, this is more complicated, though, instantly more complicated, which is very, very far from what I was hoping for, because this one can be a single digit total that has one way of doing it, because if that was a 2, for example, we could flank it with 1 9, and therefore it could be the sandwich, which is impossible when that number is on the perimeter. So although we know these correspond, I'm thinking that's not actually that helpful. I mean, what I'm often struck by the emotion that I'm having now, which is when these setters get these ideas for puzzles, why don't they just instantly abandon them as ludicrous? I mean, if you had this idea and you thought, oh, I wonder if I could make a grid with no cage numbers and no sandwich clues, and just by giving question marks somehow make it solvable, you just think, no, that's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Column 1, I mean, I think column 1 is maybe row 9 actually. Row 9's only got two cages, and we know this one is impossible, don't we? Because that's at least a 36 cage again. So that one corresponds to this one. I don't know whether I'm meant to highlight the whole of it, or maybe I am. I'll highlight the whole of it. So that's interesting. That's a massive number then. Because this is a 7-cell cage, the minimum I can make 7 cells add up to is the triangular number for 7, which is 28. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7. So this is at least 28, so the tens digit is at least a 2. It could be up to 35 though, although, no, it can't. Oh, no. If that adds up to 35... Oh, now I'm confusing. Now this gets weird. If that adds up to... I don't think it works. That's my gut reaction, but I might be wrong. If that adds up to 35, that implies the 1 and the 9 are right on the periphery. Doesn't that imply that digit equals that digit? Or maybe it doesn't, actually. Hang on. So we're saying these add up to 35. At the same time, we're saying those add up to 35. So we're saying those are common. And that means that this digit and this digit have to be the same number, which clearly doesn't work. So that doesn't... Okay, so it's not 35. That's what we've just learned as a result of that little digression. But that's probably not an enormous deduction, is it? Well, maybe we can rule out 28 for some reason. If this is 28... I'm saying that wherever I put the 1 and the 9, let's just try this. I'm just trying to play around with it just to get a feel for how this works. So if this is 28 and this is 28, maybe I have to do it the other way round with the 9 and the 1 like that. I mean, obviously this is completely flexible. I'm just trying to understand it. So we're saying those cells, if the 1 and the 9 were here, in fact we can ignore the 28. Let's just ignore the 28 and just say, okay, let's imagine this was 1 and this was 9. What we're actually saying then is that the sandwich total is this. Well, no, we're saying that the cage total is that, the sandwich total is that. The common digits are therefore those, which would imply that this digit is the sum of those 3 digits. Which is fine. Wow, okay. So this is nonsense as well. Well, it's not. Well, the only thing I've learned is that is that cage. Okay, let's try column 1. I think that's the other cage, or the other column that has relatively few cages in it. I might be missing 1 or 2, but I can't see anything much better than this. So this one, okay, well this one is referencing that one, isn't it? for exactly the same reason that we've already discovered. I said exactly the same reason. I did not say Alexa. I didn't. She always wants to hog the limelight. Anyway, what does this mean? So again, we've got this is adding up to at least 28. There. So I was going to say it's the same as this, but now I think about it, is it the same as that? Ooh, something's wrong with my brain here. This is making my brain feel funny. I don't understand. How can that work? All I'm thinking of is if I put, let's just put a 1 here. Well, it's very clear I can't put the 9 anywhere. Let's try and, I mean, it's going to be the same if I put it there. What I mean by that is it's sort of, it's self-defeating. I think the 1 and the 9 have to be on the perimeter in this column, because if I just try and put the 1 there, I know that obviously I can't put the 9 in here, because if I do, it should be very clear to everybody that those cells do not add up to the same as those cells, which would be what that would imply. So we'd have to, if we put the 1 in the orange, we've got to put the 9 outside the orange, and we can't put it there. So we've got to put it here. But it's the same problem. It's just slightly less dramatically obvious. Here, we know that this has to have the same sum as those cells. Well, it's going to be 1 out. And that doesn't work and can never work. That's weird. That's weird because it's not the same down here. I suppose because you can always do the trick where something, yeah, you don't have perfect overlap of the 1s and the 9s with the contents of the cage. So it's sort of it's very subtly different. But in this column, it's powerful because actually now I know what this is, don't I? Because if I put the 1 and the 9 in the perimeter, which I have to do, that has to be a 35, because they must add up to 35 by mathematics, or math, as RockyRoer would probably say. So that's 3, that's 5, they add up to 35, and I've actually got 1s and 9s in the grid. And I was about to say, and this allows me to do my patented colouring method for solving sandwich Sudoku, but now I'm realising I've coloured in all of these other things. Right, okay, we're going to have to fix this, I think. We're going to have to fix this, so I'm going to have to not use colour in the grid to indicate that I know where... Right, I'm going to lose letters. So let's switch to letters. Let's change that from purple to A. So what I'm saying here is that this sandwich clue corresponds to this cage. I think probably I can just do away with the orange in this column because this is 35 is very forced. Now this being yellow, that needs to have its own little moniker, so we'll give it a B. And then I can get rid of my yellowing, and I'm going to get rid of my greening and make this one C. Hopefully it lets me do it. I want to do C here, and then that's C. So that's telling me that this clue corresponds to this cage. And now what I can do is, normally I use red and green for this, and I think that's okay. I know some people worry about red-green colourblind, but I am told by people who suffer badly with red-green colourblind, our green and red doesn't apparently trigger that. So hopefully that's still true. Now, if that's a 1 or a 9... Yes, okay, so now we can do something in the first row, because I know that this number, which is the sandwich total, is quite low. So it could be 9. No, now it can't be 9. Now it can't be 9, because if it's 9... Hang on, let me go back to numbers. If that's 9, that's 1, and this should be a 35 clue, but we know it's referencing 9, so it's... Right, so we've now learnt this is not 9. This is 5, 6, 7, or 8, and therefore it's a maximum. In fact, it is exactly a 2-cell sandwich. Is that really true? This is so brilliant if this is right. Yeah, because we know that this... Let's just make it 6 for a moment. If that's a 6, we can't just have a single cell sandwich, because that's just going to be a 6 written there, and it's going to immediately break the puzzle. So we know that we need to have a double-digit or a triple-digit sandwich, but triple-digit sandwiches are off the menu now, because if you think about what a triple-digit sandwich can add up to, because it cannot contain a 1, it's a minimum of 2, 3, 4, which add up to 9, which we've just said this can't be. So it's a 2-digit sandwich, and therefore that cell is a 1 or a 9, which means that these cells are all green, which means that... I don't know what that means, but it's rather magnificent to me that this is going anywhere at all. Right, so what does this mean? I want to say that's green. Oh, of course that's green. This is an enormous number. I was going to say that's green. Let me explain why I was thinking about this. I was thinking that's green because that can't be a 0 clue, because obviously every cage total in the puzzle is a positive integer. So that means that you can't have a 0 sandwich, which would imply the 1 and the 9 were in adjacent cells. But actually I can do much better than that, because we know that that cage is adding up to at least 28. Now 28 inside a sandwich, which cannot therefore include a 9, is 876 is 21, plus 5 is 26. So it's at least 5 cells sandwich. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so the first position we could put the counterpart to this cell in is that. So all of those are green. Now, that can't be, can it? Because if that's red, I'm saying that this is 35. And this is 35. This is what I disproved earlier. And the problem with that was that forced those 2 digits to be the same number, I think, if I remember rightly, which didn't work. So that is also green. Red is in one of these 2 positions. Now... I was about to look at this column, but that's just a fool's errand. We know nothing about it. We haven't even got a question mark clue. Okay. Good. I mean, where do I look now? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I have not got a clue where I'm meant to look now. Is this somehow obvious? Oh, okay. I can't have a 0 sandwich clue, so that's green, because that does have a question mark above it. Do I know about the quantum of this digit now? Don't think so. This... Oh no, okay, this is... Right, this... Actually, I know more than I did before. Because this has become a bit like this one, hasn't it? In the sense that if this is a low number now, if I make that 2, I've got to put it in the sandwich, and I now can't because that can't be a 1 or a 9. That's cool. Okay, so this is now, it's got to be the same as that, I think. 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Oh, I've got it. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh, it's not about the sandwich at all. It's about Sudoku. It's about geometry. Oh, I love that. Right. Forget this. This is total and utter red herring. Because the way to do this is to not think about red herrings. It's to think about red cells. Where does that digit go in this column? By Sudoku, it can't repeat within its cage. And it's not that because that can't be red. So it's there. And therefore, it can't be 1. It can't be 1 because if it's 1, that's saying that that cell is a 1, which says there's a 1 inside the sandwich, which is clearly impossible. So that's just a known digit. That's a 9, which means that's a 1, that's a 9, that's a 9. This is telling us, well, those are all green now. I'm seeing that. That's a 9. Let's put that in. I'm going to make that black now to show that it's not got any tens digits. But also, 9 can't be a single digit sandwich because that would then make this a 9. So that's got to be green. Now, can we have a 3-cell sandwich here? That would make this 2, 3, 4 and put the 1 here. I don't know is the answer, but I think there's a 1 in one of those two for sure, which means these are both green. Which means there's a 1 in one of those 2 cells, which in this column does have a clue. Unlike me, some of you might be saying. I.e. me, not you. You know what I mean. What about this clue then? This clue is saying it's got to pick up a total, and the columns, sorry, the cages it could pick up are this one, which is a big number. That's at least, well, in fact, that's 30. Yeah, that's 35. Right, okay, it doesn't pick up that one, because that's 35, remember, because of the 1 and the 9 in column 1. So, can that be 9 as well? I.e. this cage is doing the duty for this one and this one. That would mean there would be a 1 in one of those, well, one of these cells. Possibly. It could be that one. It can't be this one, because that is a 9-cell cage, and that would imply we needed a 45 sandwich filling. Okay, and then we've got a funny L pentomino at the end. Oh no, that's a V pentomino actually. A V pentomino. But that could add up to a big number or a small number. Minimum 15. Which that could be, I suppose, 7, 8 with a 1 here. Right, okay, that's not where we look next. So where do we look next? We will look at... None of these look appetizing. I mean, look at this one. It's just horrendous. It's got loads of options. Varying from massive number here to tiny number in the dominoes. That one can't be... Right, this one has to take its lead from... Right, this has only got a choice of 2 cages. Could be, and it's probably not that one. No, right, okay, this one is restricted for some... I mean, it's very hard to see this, but let me make that D. Which cage does that correspond to? Well, it's not the 9-cell cage, which sums to 45. It's not this cage, which sums to 35, because if it was, you'd have to put the 1 and the 9s on the perimeter of row 8, and you can't. So it's not that one. It's not this one. It's not this one, which is an 8-cell cage, which is the same problem. So it's this cage. So that is the cage that is D. But that's a 4-cell cage, which could add up to as little as 10 or as much as 30. So it doesn't really tell us anything, I don't think, about where the 1s and the 9s go in the row. Oh, we've got roping here. Ah, okay, I'm going to be able to approximately position the 9. Yeah, this is interesting. This is interesting. I should have seen this before, but look, this cage, this is a suspicious looking cage if you've done a lot of Sudoku, because it forces roping in these 3 rows. Now, what do I mean by roping? And many of you will know this already, but the thing to think about is, where do the blue digits go in box 9? And because digits can't repeat within a cage, they can't go in those 6 cells, so they are forced to be in those cells, which means that the blue cells are forced to be in those cells by Sudoku. But we can repeat that trick now by asking where the yellow cells go. In this box, well, we know the yellow cells have no overlap with blue, so they must go there, which means they go there, which now allows us to say with certainty that 9 is in one of those cells, and 9 is in one of these cells, which is quite cool. Oh yeah, this is lovely. No, it's actually not the 9 we should be focusing on, it's the 1. Oh, this is really clever. RockyRoer, this is really clever. Because remember what we said about this row. We said the 1 couldn't be too close to the 9. And we therefore, I said that I think I've got these 2 as possible ones. Which I should actually have pencil marked, it would have made it clearer. But that's a blue cell. So there is a 1 in one of these, which means that is not a 1, which means that is a 1. And suddenly I've got a digit out of roping, which is not what I was anticipating. Oh, right, so now I need to, I'm going to get rid of my ropey colours now, because I want to go back to thinking about the fact this is red, therefore that's green. And look, there's a question mark clue here, so this must be green, because it can't be next to the 1, or this would be a 0 clue. The same is true in the column, so that's got to be green. So that's not 9 now, so 9 is being shunted over. Oh, it wasn't 9 anyway because of the 9 up there, but I didn't spot that. Now, so what's the cage that's corresponding? This has got to be a small number, because the 9 is either very close to the 1 or still pretty close. They're definitely relatively neighbourly, aren't they? Well, it's not that one, that's massive. It's not that one, that's impossible. It could be this one. That's going to be suitably small. If it's this... Ah, no, alright, I've got it. This is lovely. This is absolutely lovely. This is the 9. And let me explain why. It's because if this was the 9, the only cage in this row that can give a total that could go into this cell is this one. But of course, if that's a 9 and we're referencing this cage is adding up to at least 10 now, and we can't put 10 in that cell, so that doesn't work. If we try and say this is the reference cage, that's adding up to at least 15. Therefore, this can't be a 9, because, well, I can't put 15 there. I was just thinking, I was saying that this was the reference cage. Well, I am saying that's not 9. So I'm saying this is 9. I'm saying that all of this turns green as a result of that. I'm saying that's definitely red. Now, am I... Well, I mean, axiomatically, I am saying that this, the total of those 2 cells, is what goes in this sandwich clue. But I'm not necessarily saying it's not the same as that as well. Just imagine that was a... What's the minimum it could be? If that was a 15 cage, that could be a 7-8. Yeah, it's the only way it could work. So I can't say for certain whether it's referencing this or both of these, but it's definitely referencing this. So I think I can pencil mark that with some degree of comfort. That cage corresponds to that. 9 now in the middle box is in one of 3 positions by Sudoku. And what on earth do we look at now? Every time you make a little breakthrough in this puzzle, it feels like a huge epiphany and a moment, a watershed moment, and then you sort of try and use what it's taught you, and there's not much to go on, is there? What am I meant to do? Okay, 9 in this column is in one of 2 places. Okay, maybe I can force that to not be here. Let me think about that. So, again, this digit needs to be relatively small, doesn't it? And it needs to be extremely small if that's the 9. Well, that cage is massive. That cage, if I make that the 9, the minimum sum of this is 9, and that doesn't work, because if that was 2, 3, 4, I'd need to put 9 in here and 9 in here. That doesn't work. So although that cage could be relatively small, it can't give rise to the single-digit total. This one, on the other hand, if that one's giving rise to the... Yeah, okay, well, if that was 9... I don't think this can be 9, because if this is 9, it can't reference this cage, and it can't reference this cage, because this is adding up to too many. Oh, I've only just seen this is a 4-cell cage, in fact, so it's definitely too many. And that cage is definitely too large. Right, so that's relatively straightforward. That is 9. That's red. That's green. That's not 9. Oh, that's beautiful again. Oh, it's really clever. Right, I can place the 9 in the middle box, because that 9 can't go there, actually, now I see it, because it's in the same cage as it's already got a 9, so there's a 9 here. So there's now a 9 over here. I've got 6 9s in this grid, which feels to me to be completely mad. Okay, here is a sensible question. Yes, here is a sensible question. That is a 9-cell cage. That needs to have a 9 in it. Where does it get its 9 from? By Sudoku, every cell is ruled out with the exception of that one, which is therefore a 9. That's quite cool. So that's a 9. That's got a question mark. So those 2 cells have to be green, because we can't have a 0 clue. That's a question mark, so they have to be green. So now the 1 is in one of these 2 positions, which means these are green. So the 1 is in one of those 3 positions. Now, I wonder, is it really possible for that to be a 1? If that is a 1, that is a single cell sandwich total. Well, that can't give me that, that can't give me that, that can't give me that, because that's at least a double-digit number. That's a 45 cage, and that's at least a 15 cage, right, so that's not 1. So the 1 is being pushed over here. If it was here, we'd need a 2-cell sum. That could give me a 2-cell sum. Okay. And if it's a 3-cell sum, that could easily be got from there as well. Okay, so that's not quite helpful enough. Well, what about this one though now? Row 2, we need at least a 4-cell sum. That's a 35 cage, so that's not right. A 9 cage is impossible now because it's a 4-cell sum. This one, can that give rise to a... Yes, that probably can give a 4-cell sum. The minimum those cells could be would be 2, 3, 4, 5, adding up to 14. And I can make that... actually, can I make up that? Well, I can make that add up to 15, and then I can make that add up to 15. So absolutely, this could be the 1, and this could be the total for this row. Either that or it's there. Oh, is that... Maybe that's the point, actually. I was just thinking, can I rule out that from being the one on the basis that there's no valid cage that could get me up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which would, so these cells would add up to at least 27. Which cage can give me 27 here? That one can't. That one can't. 27. Without a 9 in it, that's very difficult. 8, 7, 6, 5. 8, 7, 6, 5, 1 is 27. So I can't rule this out. That's very mean. That's probably correct then, isn't it? That's probably correct. Oh, bobbins. Right, okay. So, what does this mean now? I have not got a Scooby-Doo. I would love to know what it is I'm meant to look at now, but my brain is not telling me that. Ah, these two are not 9. Let's do some Sudoku. So I've got this X-wing on 9s. I've got 7 9s in the grid. Oh, that's beautiful. Right. It's simpler. It's simpler than having to do maths. Yet just use Sudoku. How can that be the one? Forget about totals. If that's the one, I can't put a 1 in box 2 anymore. Because you can't repeat the 1 in the 9-cell cage. And there's no one possibility of 1 in row. That's so clever. It's so clever and simple once you see it. Now this is mighty. This is mighty stuff. Because now, how on earth do we make this work? This is a 35 cage. That's too many. Because if they add up to 35, plus 1 plus 9 is 45, this would have to be a 0, which doesn't work. This can't be adding up to 9. It can't be adding up to whatever that is. That's 24 at the most, but it's a 6-cell sum without a 1 in it. So it's adding up to at least 27. It can't add up to 45, so it is adding up to whatever this is, this cage here. But this cage needs to add up to at least 27. Let me just, so the mathematics of that, the way I'm doing that is I'm saying what's the triangular number for 7, which I know is 28, and I'm knocking out 1 from it, which is the minimum digit I could knock out from that triangular sequence. So that gets me 27, because I know I can't put a 1 in this 6-cell sequence. So 27 here has to be, therefore, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, look at this. Right, and well, okay, we're going to get this digit, aren't we? Because now, if we know that those cells sum to 27, and we do, 20, so let's put this in actually. That's a 27 clue. This is a 27 cage. 27 plus 10 is 37, making this an 8. Which might matter in some way. Maybe. What does that do for us, though? Does it allow me to place more 1s and 9s in the world? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Okay, I'm stuck again, aren't I? Let's think about what on earth am I meant to do here? What on earth am I meant to do? Can we say something sensible about one of these rows or columns? I'm quite, I mean, to be honest though, although it's absolutely baffling, it is, once you have the right thought about whichever part of the puzzle is that gives you a bit of traction, you can do it. It's just very hard to have those thoughts sequentially in any sort of efficient order, at least for me. 50 minutes in, I have got digits though, so it's better than sometimes. This is a 2-cell sum. So which cage is that corresponding to in this column? Well, actually, that is a good question. Oh, that's a weird... No, it's a weird question. It's got a weird answer. Okay, it's not this cage, because that cage is too big. So let's label this up. I've used E already. I'm going to use F. Now, I think it has to be this cage, but let me explain why. If we're saying that this sandwich corresponded to this cage, well, clearly that's wrong, because this sandwich is only 2 cells of this cage. So that's not F. And that is a massive cage. That's adding up to at least 28. And I can't put 28 into those cells. So this is F. Now F has already got a 9 in it, look. So the minimum sum I can make F is now a 2, a 3 and a 9, which is 14. So this, right, so this is at least 14. Well, it can't be more than 15. So it's either 8 and 7, or it's 8 and 6, and there is definitely an 8 in it, which means that there is definitely an 8 down here from the work we did before. And these 2 cells now have to be kept down, because, yeah, the minimum we can do is 14 here, which is a 2-3 pair, and the maximum we can do is a 2-4 pair, adding up to 6, and keeping this down to 15, which is maxing this out. So I've used 2 and I've used 8. Ah, right, but now that can't have a 2 in it. And that's corresponding to this clue. So this is not 5 and it's not 6 anymore. If this was 5 or 6, this would either have to be 2, 3 or 2, 4, which it can't be now. So this is now 7 or 8. So if it's 7, what do you put in there? You can't do... Oh, that is so beautiful. Good grief. Good grief. Okay, that's not 7. Because if it is 7, what do you put in here? You can't put 1, 6, you can't put 2, 5, you need a 2 in this domino. And if you were to put 3, 4, both of those cells would be 2, and there would be an oversupply of 2s in the world. So that's 8. This is 3, 5, because it can't be 1, 7 or 2, 6. So that's 3, 5, knocking 3 out of here. So this is now 2, 4, which means that that's adding up to 15, which means there's no 6 in here. So this is 7, 8. And this column is all of a sudden getting interesting. I've not put 6 into it. So these are 3, 5 and 6 at the bottom. And these 2 cells are now known. They are 6 and 7, which means that is not... Oh, good grief, that's a 5 out of absolutely nowhere. So these squares are now 6, 7 and 8. I don't know. I think there's no clue here, so I don't think I can do much with this. What about this clue now then? Do I know more about the options in this world? Oh, yes, I do. Hang on. Which one does this correspond to? Let's go back to letters again. That's G, I think we're up to. So it's not this one, because it's at most a 3-cell sandwich. It's not this one, that's impossible. It could be a 15 sandwich. Although that would fix the one here, I think. So it could be that one. It's not the 45. That's an uncaged cell. So that's the... Oh, and it's not this one. This is enormous. That's 27 or something. You can't make 3 different digits add up to 27 in Sudoku if they have to be. Well, you can't. It just doesn't work. So that means that we are looking at this cage as being the G cage, which is a 15 cage. Now, if we try and put this one here, that's a 7-8 pair, and that means that's impossible because there's a 7 in one of those. So actually, we get the 1. We get the 1 here. That's red. We get green here. We get no 1 there, so that's green. This is all green. And can I say what that is then? Adding up to 15. I might be able to, because it's got an 8 in it. So I need 2 cells to add up to 7 that are not 1, 6 or 2, 5. Yeah, so that's 3, 4. Yeah, that's 3, 4, 8, I think, just by maths. Which means that's a 2. Which means that's a 4. Okay, I don't know what that means. That's not 8, look. This clue now might be the one we have to focus on, because that is a single digit total. So which cage? Oh, it could be that cage. Oh, no, it could be both of those cages. That's really mean. Okay, so that's just naughty. I've done... Oh. Hang on, I haven't done this one. This is a 9, and I've got a 6 or a 7, and it's first I can get the 1. Yeah, I can't put the 1 too far down here, because these cells are going to add up to at least 5 if they're 2 and 3. And that 2 and 3 plus 6 is more than 9. So that's the 1. That gets me another red digit. This square is therefore 2 or 3 to make this sum work. Somehow that's not resolved. 1. Right, well those are green now, because they see 1 and 9. 9, so that's green. That sees 1 and 9. Let's check this column. We've got a question mark here. So this is possibly a big number if the 1 is right at the bottom. So it's not picking up this cage. It's not picking up this cage. 27, is that possible? If it's a 27 here. 37, these would add up to 8. They'd have to be 2, 6, which actually looks possible, doesn't it? So that's probably correct. Or it could pick up that cage maybe and have a 1 here. Okay, I'm not sure about this. And there's another cage there, I'm just noticing. Yeah, this one's a very naughty one as well. It's got all sorts of optionality. Okay. So what on earth am I meant to do now? Have we... Oh no, that one we've done. D is this cage. Oh, I've not thought about this. This is interesting. D is this cage, apparently. Now, that cage is adding up to quite a lot. It's adding up to either 19, 21, or 22. Oh, I've not put in any 1s and 9s yet. Oh, well, that can't be a 9. Because there's no way I can then put the 1 there and make this a 19. So that's great. That is great, because that means that is 9. It's red. That's 9. It's red by Sudoku. And now all of that turns green. Both of those turn green because we can't have a 0 clue in the column, which makes this a 1 by elimination. It's the only place a 1 can go in this box. So that's red. That's red by the looks of things. Oh, bother. I get left with an X-wing here. So all of those turn green. But this actually, maybe I can shift this 1 there, because this has to be quite big, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I can. This is at least 19. Well, 19 is at least 8, 7 and another number. So that can never be the 1. So that's green. This is therefore, you've guessed it, red, which makes that red. They're both 1s. That's green and it's not a 1. Therefore that's green and it's not anything. And all of a sudden we have fixed our 1s and 9s. That's really, really, really gratifying. It's taken me an hour. And now, well, now I'm going to get rid of my green because we don't need green. Do I get rid of my red? Not on your Nelly. I'm not getting rid of these. Reds were hard won and they deserve to stay there. And probably they should stay there because these are still fixing the sandwich positions, aren't they? So I do need to think very carefully about them. Those 3 digits do have to be quite big, you know. Actually, hang on, is the roping somehow important here? I don't know. I'm just thinking, these are at least 19. Well, 7, 6 and 5 only add up to 18, so there's definitely an 8 in that sum. I can't remember where the roping went. Maybe I've got to reinstate it. Sorry, I know I put this in earlier, but I'm just going to reinstate my roping so that I can see what's going on. So now those digits, well, let's do those digits actually. Let's make those purple. They've got to go there, which means they've got to go here. And therefore we'll make the other ones blue, maybe. Okay, so what's this saying? So this digit here has to go in the sum. That's quite a low number in the context of getting this up to at least 19. In fact, maybe I can just rule out 6 from there, can't I? If that's 6, how on earth... No, I can see that doesn't work. Because if this is 6... that's adding up to 22, and I can't make 3 different digits in Sudoku add up to 22 if I'm not allowed to use a 9. So that is not 6, which means 6 in the column goes here, which means that this is purple. So there's a 6 in E, and there's a 6 in this sandwich clue. And there's an 8 in it as well. So what is going on here then? We've got 14 in 2 digits, and we're heading up towards either 19 or 21. So we need either 5 or 7 along with our 6 and 8. So these are 5, 6, 7 and 8, and we know that the 6 is on the right. We don't know about the 8, I don't think. So if that was 8, this would be 14. This would be 6, 8. Can that be 5? I don't think it can be 5. No, it can be 5. I just did the maths on that. 21. Is that really right? Am I going mad? No, it can be 21. I'm sorry, I was looking at this cell and thinking in my brain that means it can't be 21, but it can, because it can be 6, 7 and 8. Oh dear. There's something, it feels like there's something here though, doesn't it? It definitely, there's some relationship, I think, between this digit and these that might cause this to break. 5, is 5 really possible? Yeah, that's the one I keep coming back to 5. I can't quite believe it works, but that would make these 2, 3 and 4. I don't know. What's going on in the bottom row now as well? Hang on. I've not even labelled. Where's C gone? Oh, C was this one, wasn't it? C is this one. So actually, What is going on there? Something is going on here. There's a problem here. I think I might have broken the puzzle, I'm afraid. Ah, no way. How does this work? I might have to... I'm just going to unshade this for a moment. Sorry. I just have to... so I'm struggling to see how it works. What I'm thinking is that this sandwich clue is referencing this cage. So this cage, let's just make that colour, one colour, that's orange. So I now know that that sum is the same as that sum there. Let's make those green. So those are common to both sums, which means that digit is the sum of those three digits. And that means that it can't be 6. Oh, wow. It's 8. It's 8 for a beautiful reason. Right, I'm going to reinstate my yellow colouring here for a moment because of roping. Look at that. I hope everyone can see that without... I'm going to explain it, but it's really beautiful. So what we've just established from our colouring is that green is equal to the sum of orange. Now this is 3 different digits, so it's at least 6, which means that green we could write in as 7 or 8 at this point. It can't be 6 or 9. But by roping, I have to include this digit in orange down here. Well, if I make this 7 or 8, it's very clear that this maths can't work at the bottom row. We can't make 7 or 8 plus 1 plus another digit equals 7 or 8. So this has to be 5, which means there's a 5 down here, which means there's no 5 here. It means these squares are now 6, 7 or 8 because they're purple. But now this can't be 7 because 7 would require 2 and 4 here. So this is now 8, which means that this is now 2, 5 to make the sum work, which means that's a 2. This is a 2, 5 by roping. That's a 3 by, well, I suppose by Sudoku, but I actually got it from this. So this total is now 19. So that means, oh, we know we have to have 6 and 8 in here. We worked that out before. So this is a 6-8 pair. That's a 6-8 pair by colouring. This is a 6-8 pair. Yeah, that all adds up. And therefore that should add up to 19 and does. So the world is making sense, even if it's quite a complicated world. And now those squares are 4 and 7. That 3 is giving us a 3 at the top of the grid, so that's 3 and that's 5. That gives me a 2 here, 2 here, 5 here. That's got to add up to 9, so that's got to be 7, that's got to be 6, that's got to be 7, that's got to be 4. What's this going on? That's a 6 by Sudoku. This is 3, 4, 5, I think. This row's now quite interesting. Look, those have got to be 3, 4, 5. Because we've got a 6, 7, 8 triple, a 2, a 1 and a 9. Right, so how does the roping work now? So I've now got 3, 4, 7 at the bottom here. And 3, 4, 7 over this side in the blue. So let's get... oh, I wanted to get rid of my blue colouring. Better highlight colours to do this. So blue, yellow, orange, purple, get rid of green, and 5 here means I can do some more Sudoku of all things. It is outrageous the way I'm made to do Sudoku in these puzzles. That's a 5 by Sudoku. That's not a 5 anymore. These squares are 2, 3 and 4. The 2 can be placed. So this is a 3, 4 pair. That's a 7. That's not a 7 anymore, or an 8. That's a 6, in fact. So this is 7, 8. There's a 3, 4 pair in the column. Does this keep going, or does it now drift to a meandering stop? Probably does that. Bobbins. Bobbins, bobbins, bobbins. Okay. Right, I'm going to come back to this now, because it occurs to me that that's become a big number, and therefore I can't put it in there. So let's label this one up. Let's give this, have I used H yet? I don't think so. Let's use H. So which, those single digit sandwich totals, not that cage, not that cage, possibly this cage, not that cage, not that cage, not that cage, not that cage. Right, so it is this one. This is H, and it's at least 7. So it is 7, because it can't be 8. So that's 7. That's got to be a 3, 4 pair to make the world work. So that gives me a 3, 4. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't like the look of that. I've got a deadly pattern. Maybe it's resolved by some sort of weird sandwichy thing, but that doesn't look right to me. That's not 7 anymore. Oh no, please don't have broken it, you silly, silly man. 5 in this column can only go here. So this has got to be, that's got to be a 6. I was going to say a 6 or an 8, but it can't be a 6. So that's 8, that's 8, that's 6. That cell is not 8 anymore. I've got a 3, 4 pair here, so that becomes 7. So this column needs 2s, 5s and 6s. That's a 6. That's a 5, that's a 2. Somehow it's actually working in terms of... What's this row need now? 2, 3... What's the other digit? 2, 3, 6. That's not 2. No, that's nearly good. But these digits will probably tidy everything up. One of them's got to be a 2. One of them's got to be a 7. That's a 7, that's an 8. Oh, I am left with this deadly pattern. Ooh, this is worrying, worrying, worrying. I don't think I've used these clues. Actually, I know what I should do. I should go through and label up my clues that I've actually got. That's a 14. That's because it's that one. D, which was a 19. And that's the sum of those. C was... I don't know what C was. C was the sum of those digits, which is also... Well, it's also the sum of that cage, which is 45 minus 17, which is 28, I think. Let's double check that adds up to 28, just to make ourselves feel like we're in the right ballpark. 14 and 14 is 28, yes. So that's good. Except for these 3, 4 pairs. We could... It's probably going to come down to these in a minute. Ah, where does that digit go? That's a good question. Where does that digit go in the 9-cell cage? It's got to go in one of the cells, look. And it's not equal to 5 or 7. It's got to go there, and therefore it's got to be a 3. Therefore that's a 4, that's a 4, that's a 3. Does this do my deadly pattern? I don't think it can. That's an 8. These squares are now 2 and 6, which is resolved. That's a 6, that's an 8, that's an 8, that's a 7. 7 must go here. The top row needs just 6 and something, 4. So that's 4, that's 6. That's 4, that's 3. Oh, no, 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 no. What's gone on here? But I don't think I've used these clues, so can they sort this out for me? Well, I know that the sum here is 15. So I need a cage. Oh, this might do it. If that's the cage that has to be 15, it will do it. Let me think about this. So That can't be a 15 cage. That can't be a 15 cage. That's uncaged. That's not a 15 cage. That could be. That's our option. That can't be. That's no, that's beautiful. So it finishes here. This has to be a 15 cage because that is 15 clue. Therefore, that needs to be a 4, and that needs to be a 3, and that needs to be a 3, and that needs to be a 4, and that has, I think, solved the puzzle. But, weirdly, I don't know if I even used that clue. So I've got to check this column to see whether or not I've made a ricket there. That's a 15 clue, which is referencing that cage, so that looks correct. This is a 7 clue, which was that cage, if I remember rightly. So that loses its, not its religion, but it loses its darkness. Or gains darkness, if you prefer. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So this is 15. G I've not labelled. G is 15 again. Oops. 15. What cage was that? Oh, that's that one. So that one's sort of done double duty. This one was an 8. So that one. Hello, darkness, my old friend again. And this is the one that I've not looked at. So I need a 9 cage. Oh, I see. So this one is a 9 cage. So maybe both of those clues weren't necessary. It may mean that I've missed something during the solve and I've found it a different way, to be honest, because I'm not sure we needed both of these to differentiate this 3-4 pair at the end. But that puzzle is so unbelievable in its execution that it exists. It's another of these puzzles that you just think that cannot work, let alone have such a wonderful, give the solver such a wonderful experience when they solve it. Because it wasn't like bashing your head against a brick wall. There were moments in it when it was like, what do I do? But once you focus on the right part, it wasn't like mind-breaking logic. It was just lovely logic. It's stunning. It really is. RockyRoer, happy birthday, my friend. I hope that you enjoyed me wading my way through the puzzle. I tried to do it with some sort of aplomb, and I probably failed, but I did have a wonderful time on the journey. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.